Hi everyone, this is Rick from rickswrestlingblog.com. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about Hell in the Cell. I just finished watching this pay-per-view and, before I give away too much, just wanted to say that it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. So let's go ahead and talk about it. This pay-per-view ended about roughly an hour ago. And actually, by the time this video is loaded up, probably a little longer than that. But let's go ahead and talk about it a little bit, okay? I've got some notes here. The pre-show. Well, actually, it starts with a panel. And with this panel, you've got Caitlyn, R-Truth, Josh Matthews, and Dolph Ziggler. And they're talking about, the upcoming matches, the title, everything, So, don't really need to talk a whole lot about that crew. But then a little while later, they cut to the back and they're showing Vicky Guerrero walking down. And here comes Miz saying, hey, I want Bray Wyatt. I want him in a match tonight. And Vicky saying, you are not cleared to wrestle, so I cannot do that. So Miz says, okay, well, then you know what? I'm looking for a fight. So, and then it cuts away. And Vicky's like, well, he cuts away. And then Vicky's like, well, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So, anyway, we go back and we go back to the panel. And on that panel, here's Big E Langston. Now, here's the thing. We found out, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, that Axel got injured. So the Intercontinental title versus Big E Langston was not going to take place. And so that match kind of got scratched. But here's Big E speaking as part of the panel all of a sudden. So there's 5 up there. And they cut over to the Shield, who's going ahead and speaking about their match coming up, the tag team match. But here comes Big E challenging Dean Ambrose for the United States title. They go back and forth a little bit, but go ahead and guess what? That match is set now for the pay-per-view. U.S. title on the line. Big E Langston, Dean Ambrose. So we'll see what happens there. Okay. One thing that I did kind of got to see with Big E is that he is a rookie. He is still new at this, but he seemed to not be too comfortable speaking, so he just he couldn't flow too well. So it turns out that the match happened and stuff, but the way he delivered it wasn't as clean, as cut as it really could have been. So he just needs a little more practice. So anyway, the pre-show begins. Damian Sandow, Kofi Kingston. That's the new pre-show. Well, I don't really understand this pre-show. I take that back. Kofi Kingston, somebody really likes this guy, so they put him on there. I could understand Sandow because he's actually the Money in the Bank title holder. And so the thing is that, they want to try to promote that, hey, he may be cashing in tonight. So, of course, this match takes place and didn't last too long. It wasn't a match to really talk about and brag about. Nothing interesting. Sandow pinned Kofi Kingston and won, and which, to tell you the truth, I was surprised about because these days Sandow's just been jobbing to everybody, which it does not make him look good. So, but anyway, that match is over. Then we go on to the opening of the actual pay-per-view live, and the very first match happens to be the tag team title match. Okay, Dustin Rhodes, Goldust. Cody Rhodes versus the Shield versus the Usos. This match goes on. I gotta tell you, these tag team matches. Don't get me wrong. The Shield are great entertainers, great wrestlers. These guys can wrestle. Okay, but I'll tell you, with the Rhodes brothers and then the Usos, these guys put on a show today. They put on. This was a great opening match, and I gotta tell you that even though there were some pretty good matches on this pay-per-view today, This to me was the best match of the night. This tag team match. It went back and forth, flying outside the ring, inside the ring. There's so many different things, getting into moves, getting out of moves, and just back and forth so much. And the Usos did really well also. At the end of the day, the Rhodes brothers defended the title. They got the pin on the Shield on Seth Rollins. They actually pinned Seth Rollins. But it was overall a really good matchup and a lot of fun. The fans were chanting, "This is awesome." And when we start chanting those sayings, well, that's a good thing. That says a lot about that match. So this match was really a home run. to start the pay-per-view, I don't think you could have started any better. And I tell you what, both Rhodes brothers were actually getting a pretty decent pop. You know, coming into the ring and wrestling, and then they were chanting Goldust, Goldust, and it was just an overall really good match. So, okay, so let's go on. Miz comes out, grabs that microphone, decides to start, talking to Bray Wyatt, whom, by the way, never shows up tonight. However, and I believe Bray Wyatt has got an injury going on right now, so Bray Wyatt comes on the screen, and, he starts speaking in his lingo like he always does. Here's the thing with the whole Wyatt family. These days, I don't know about you, but myself, I'm getting a little tired of all the lingo. I mean, let's do something here. Too much lingo and not enough action. So anyway, he says something, he laughs, and all of a sudden all the lights cut out. When the lights come back on, of course, there's Harper and Rowan in the ring, getting ready to jump the Miz, and they jumped him. They started beating on him. But guess who decides to make his return? All of a sudden, here comes the music, boom, and the fire. Here comes Kane. Kane is on his way down to the ring. He comes and he, jumps on both Rowan and Harper, the Wyatt family, gets them out of the ring. He actually tried to pick up Harper, I think is the one he tried to pick up. He actually tried to pick him up, and my guess is that Harper kind of goofed the jump to help him lift him up, but he could not get him up. It didn't look too good. But eventually Kane, threw him out of the ring anyway. And while the Wyatts are in the back just kind of retreating now, here's Miz there just kind of looking at Kane and looking back there and thinking, everything's okay. But then Kane decides he's going to grab Miz and gives him a slam. And then, of course, boom, the fire comes up like it always does. So it was good to see Kane back. It really was. And looks like he's kind of igniting something again. It's where he left off, because Kane was gone since SummerSlam. Now, we know that he was actually filming a movie, but it looks like that movie's done filming, and so he's back. So, I don't know. I think him and Miz come together against the Wyatt family. I don't know. With that chokeslam, it didn't seem like. So, we'll see what happens. All right. It's interesting. The next match was Fandango with Summer Rae versus the Great Khali and Natalya, along with Hornswoggle, of course. Now, I'll tell you what. Before the pay-per-view started, I even made mention to my brothers, we have not seen Fandango do too much at all. The last couple pay-per-views he hasn't been in, and we're like, they really need to do something with this guy, because he's a hit. He's a hit, and you're not really doing much with him at all. But he comes on and he starts dancing with Summer Rae. They come to the ring and he starts talking to the audience. Yeah, you guys don't know how to salsa, you don't know how to, but let me show you, he's the master. And then him and Summer Rae start shaking it up and dancing it. Of course, and then here comes the Great Khali with Natalya and Hornswoggle. And I was glad to see this match because it was an actual mixed tag team match. And so Summer Rae got in there and started wrestling. And I tell you what, she got in there 2 times and wrestled, and she took it. She took it to Natalya. I mean, she did really well with her debut on in WWE wrestling here. So, and at the end of the day, Khali can only do so much. He's gonna slap ya, chop ya, raise that big foot. Okay. There's not a whole lot he does. Fandango, though, that guy can get around the ring. He can wrestle. So every time, he would pound on Khali, but Khali would come and boom, smack him in the chest, and ouch. So it turns out that Summer Rae actually pinned Natalya, and it was actually a pretty fair match. And I tell you what, it turned out to be a pretty good tag team match. I was pretty surprised. I didn't think it would be that great, but it actually turned out to be really good. I enjoyed it. They won. They walked away, laughing, smiling, and I was happy about that. So that's good. That's good because they need to use this guy a little bit more. After that, they flash back to the panel and they start, talking about what's happened so far and what's still up to come. Next thing that happens is the U.S. title match comes on. So here comes Big E Langston. Here comes Dean Ambrose. And they start fighting and going back and forth. And this was actually a pretty decent match. Ambrose knows how to make someone look good though. So that's the thing. Now I'm not saying Big E is bad, because I like Big E and I think he's actually a pretty decent wrestler. But I actually thought he might win this title at this point. There was a part in the match where somebody goofed up here, because when they came and kind of ran to each other to the ropes and slammed into each other, they actually hit. Dean Ambrose's chin hit Biggie Langston's right underneath the eye, and actually cut him good underneath the eye. He had a pretty good gash in there, and Dean Ambrose had a bloody chin. And they showed the replay at the end of the match, and man, they hit, and that was kind of nasty, bone to bone there. But at the end, Dean Ambrose ended up getting counted out. Biggie Langston took it to him, so I'm assuming there's going to be a rematch for this. Biggie Langston got the victory, but it was by a count out, so Dean Ambrose retained the title. That was a little disappointing with retaining the title, but honestly, Dean Ambrose has held that title for a while, and he's bringing more prestige to it. And even though Biggie Langston is someone that WWE wants to start using and bringing up right now, I think the best move was what they did today. He looked good. He looked really good. He didn't walk away with the title, but he looked really good. Alright, next thing that came up was the CM Punk versus Ryback versus Heyman. Something goofy happened here at the beginning of the match, because Ryback's in the ring, CM Punk, where's Paul Heyman? Well, then you see him in the back, and he's on a lift truck, like one of those construction lift trucks. And it's he's standing there. There's an operator trying to drive this thing, and it looks like he's having trouble driving it and directing it. And Paul Heyman's there just kind of smiling and looking out and smiling. And, it looks like this operator's having all sorts of trouble trying to get this thing to the ringside. He finally gets it to the ringside. And then Paul Heyman grabs the microphone and he starts talking. At the same time, the lift is taking him up, 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 up. And he gets on top of the cage. He gets on top of the cage, gets in the middle of the cage, and just stays there and watches the entire match from that spot. So, of course, CM Punk, he's bummed. He's bummed. I should say bummed. He's bummed because he's looking, Heyman's all the way up there. He can't get him. Ryback's here. So, of course, battle ensues. This was a decent match. I won't say that it was great. Anything spectacular happened here. It was a decent match. At the end of the day, CM Punk, go to sleep. And then he pins Ryback. But then CM Punk decides, you know what? I'm going to go up there and I'm going to get you. So he takes that candlestick and he actually sticks it in his tights, behind his back, into his tights, goes outside the ring and actually climbs all the way up to the top. And then he gets on top, grabs that candlestick, and of course, Heyman ain't going nowhere. He's freaking out because he's up on top, and this thing is really high, 20 feet tall. And here's CM Punk just wailing on him with that stick, wailing and wailing. And then he picks him up and gives him the go to sleep right on the top of the cage. Heyman is laid out. CM Punk is there celebrating. That's how it ends. Eventually they got to get Heyman out of there, so they don't show that part of it. But it was a decent match. I wouldn't say it was anything really great and special, spectacular about it. I was there rooting on CM Punk with my shirt. Okay, so I'm a CM Punk fan, like I've said before. So anyway, let's see. Next thing that happens. Okay, next match. The Real Americans versus Los Matadores with El Torito. Decent match. And I tell you what, the Real Americans have been getting a lot of pop lately, especially with the spin. With the spin that Cesaro continues to do. And sometimes he pins a person with that. Like he spun Khali not too long ago and he pinned him that way. But he does a spin, and of course, people are just cheering that on. They're also, when they come out and they, we the people, of course, all of us are repeating that and stuff. They have a good gimmick going on here, which is really good. So they put them against Los Matadores. So when I saw this match, I was thinking, how could the Matadores? They're so new. How are they gonna let them lose? So anyway, it turned out to be a pretty decent match, pretty good. At the end of the day, Los Matadores won, and of course, the little bull got to jump on Zeb Coulter for a little bit and knock him out of the ring and stuff. So, hey, it was a decent match though. Los Matadores are the winners. Okay, world title match. John Cena makes his return against Alberto Del Rio. This turned out to be a pretty decent match. One of the better matches of the night, I would say. But John Cena came, he brought it. He seemed to be a little bit slow. He didn't seem to be as quick as he normally is. He seemed to be a little bit slow. But nothing really special happened here. You know, of course, Del Rio's trying to go after the arm throughout the entire match. He goes after, Cena counters, goes after, Cena counters. He just goes back and forth, back and forth. But this match kept going back and forth, and it did really well. You know, in a way, I felt bad for John Cena because all these chants came back. You know, Cena sucks, you know, and of course he gets his share of boos and everything, and it's like, hey, you know, John's been away since SummerSlam, okay, so, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't change. So the people kept, you know, booing and doing it, but you know, I'll tell you what, he landed the AA, he pinned Del Rio, he won the world title, he is your new world champion, and at that point, you didn't hear any Cena sucks, you didn't hear any booing. You heard all the fans going crazy as he was raising that belt, and then he was just thanking people because, you know what, he won it, and you couldn't hear anybody booing. Everybody was just cheering and screaming, and well deserved. And I'll tell you, this is one of the matches that I really liked because by giving Cena that title, you've actually taken that title and put it right back to the top because Cena's your top guy. So you're taking a title that you pretty much treated as a lower end title for a good long time, and now Cena is holding that title. This is really good because now you can have different storylines going on because you have the world title tied up between Bryan and Orton, and you know you got to throw in CM Punk in there somehow because this war with Ryback's got to end hopefully tonight, and so CM Punk's gonna eventually go for a title. Now you got John Cena winning that title. So maybe we can have their little wars going on over there for that title, and then the other wars going on over here for the WWE title. So anyway, it turned out to be a pretty decent match. John Cena is your new champion, and we'll see what happens from there. Sandow did not come down to try to cash in and win that belt. So he still has that Money in the Bank briefcase. All right, then we cut back and the discussion goes on again. They're just talking about, you know, hey, John Cena just won the title and blah, blah, blah. So, next match, AJ Lee to defend her title against Brie Bella. Of course, Nikki's in the corner, and so is Tamina Snuka in the corner of AJ. Not too sure why they were doing this match. Turned out to be a pretty decent match. Brie Bella has become such a good wrestler. She is just really learning and doing really well. Pretty impressed with what she's doing in the ring. But at the end of the day, AJ made her tap out to the Black Widow again. And so this is what happened at the last pay-per-view. So I'm a little kind of wondering, well, why? I thought Brie might actually win the title because why would you rematch the same match here at the next pay-per-view? I don't know, because it's the Divas. It's not like doing the Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton kind of thing. So I thought that they might actually be a title change. But AJ is still your champion, and she deserves that title. She, like I said, she has carried this division for a while by herself. And I'm glad that she retained the title. And finally, we have our main event of the night. Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Shawn Michaels, your ref. Of course, you know, in the beginning, you'll see that you'll see scenes in the back with Shawn Michaels talking with Triple H, and they're kind of talking and talking. They don't really, you can't really tell what they're really saying. Before the match started, they were talking again in the back, showed another little scene, and so here's Shawn Michaels, and he's doing this thing right down the center. The match is going good. You know, these guys are beating on each other. They're throwing each other outside the ring. They're picking up the stairs and banging them against each other. I mean, it really is a good match. At some point, though, Triple H decides he's going to come down to the ring. He comes down to the ring, and he's yelling at Shawn from the outside of the cage. Shawn, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, and Shawn Michaels gets out of the ring. He's like, what are you doing? Just let me do my job. You told me that this is my job to do. Let me do it my way here, you know, and him and Triple H continue to argue. While this is going on, it turned out that well, I'm sorry, Shawn Michaels got back into the ring, but just as he had turned around, Randy Orton had ran into him by accident because Daniel Bryan had actually hit him, and he knocked Shawn Michaels down. And so here comes Triple H, and he grabs the doctor, and he's trying to get into the ring because they want to check on Shawn Michaels. But then here comes Daniel Bryan hits Randy Orton with the knee. He's holding him for the pin, but Shawn Michaels is down. And then Daniel Bryan goes over and he's shaking Shawn Michaels. He's, Shawn, you gotta get up. You gotta get up. You gotta get this count. Here comes Triple H. He gets in the ring. He grabs Daniel Bryan and just throws him on the side because he's on Shawn Michaels trying to get him up. And here's Triple H just attending to Shawn. Shawn, you okay? Are you okay? You know, and of course Daniel Bryan, because he just got thrown back by Triple H, is really upset. And so he's in the back. He's looking at Triple H and he's winding up. He's getting ready. Here comes Triple H. He gets up. He turns around and here comes Daniel Bryan with that knee, and he knocks out Triple H, knocks him flat on the ground. And then as Daniel Bryan's getting up, here comes Shawn Michaels. He gets up and he saw what happened. And due to seeing Daniel Bryan hitting his best friend Triple H, Shawn Michaels lands Sweet Chin Music on Daniel Bryan. But then here comes Randy Orton. He gets up and he sees that Daniel Bryan's down. He goes, he makes the cover. Shawn Michaels is looking at it. He's thinking about it. He's looking, but then he counts it. 1, 2, 3. Your winner and new champion is Randy Orton. He is your WWE champion. So you can see that Shawn Michaels was disappointed. He didn't mean for Daniel Bryan to get pinned that way, but he also got upset that his best buddy got hit by Daniel Bryan. So, you know, who knows how they're going to take this storyline. I feel that they need to break it off with Daniel Bryan and Randy Orton already. That needs to end because this has gone on too long. It's probably going to go Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, maybe at the next pay-per-view, maybe at Survivor Series that's coming up in November. So we'll see what happens, but I want to say that overall, it was a really good pay-per-view. I was very happy that we purchased it, and well, you know, I only have really good things to say about it, so we'll have to see what happens on Raw tomorrow because I'm really anxious to see how some of these storylines start to turn, okay? So that's it. That's all I've got for you today. So hey, if you want to hear some more, of course, you know, please subscribe. I appreciate it, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care.